Hello. So this is for my family. Um, but other people will probably see it too. So this is for anyone who watches this YouTube video. Um, but basically, the gist of it is telling my family, the family members that don't know. Um, I have DID, which stands for Dissociative Identity Disorder. Um, I've talked to my therapist about this. I've talked to multiple therapists about this. Um, I've talked to friends about this, and I've been researching this for years, and we're trying to tell, well, I'm trying to tell my therapist, my current therapist, and yeah. So, I haven't officially gotten a diagnosis, but our therapist knows we have it. She just isn't ready to diagnose it yet because I only started talking to her about this recently, and she wants to talk more about it. So, yeah. Um, but I know that I have it because I've researched it like 5 years maybe since like 2020. That's 6 years, around 2020. Um, I've researched it for that long, and I've always kept it a secret because I was scared that the closest people in my life, my family, would think that I was crazy. Um, but I have DID. Okay, so first of all, what the fuck is this DID? Um, DID is DID is a disorder where it is essentially multiple people living in one body. Um, and that probably doesn't make sense to just hearing that about it, but let me tell you how it works. So, there are. Okay, so it used to be called multiple personality disorder, but doctors don't call it that anymore. They now call it dissociative identity disorder, DID, because personality is outdated. It doesn't fit anymore. It never fit, but they're just now just figuring out that it doesn't fit. Um, because it's not multiple personalities. It is multiple fully different people in one body. And it's usually not just a billion people all in one at the same time trying to talk over each other, but sometimes there can be a few out at once. But, anyways, it's usually one person out, and then they switch into a different person. And this sounds weird because it is, but it's real. Doctors know that it's real, therapists know that it's real, psychologists know that it's real, and we know that it's real. Um, because we have it. A lot of people who aren't doctors try to say that DID isn't real because they're dumb. um, but there's physical proof that DID exists. Most likely, millions of people have it. Um, it is kind of rare, but it isn't that rare. It's as common as someone being born with ginger hair. Um, and basically, how it works, there is the body that we walk around with and talk with and do things with, but in our mind that multiple people share, there is a way that we look in our mind that doesn't match our body, and it can make us feel very disconnected with our body and make us confused when we look in the mirror and upset that we don't see ourselves. Because in our mind, that's not how we look. Um, alters, which are the different personalities that we don't call personalities anymore, they are called alters because it stands for, well, it's short for alternate states of identity. Um, so it's called alters. Well, that's what most people with the ID call it. But the different alters switch out, and they do this by, well, what is called. Okay, let me go back to my first thing. We look different in our brains because when you think of somebody. Okay, so DID develops in childhood, and when you think of somebody, you think of. You can imagine them as anything. So in our brain, we can look like anything. Most of us look like humans in our brain, but some of us don't. Some of us look like monsters or animals. But we all know how to be a person. Know how to be a person because we are in a person's body. But some of our feelings might be not what you would expect because we've always been hiding this. We've always been trying to force ourselves into one box and only showing that part of ourselves to people, but we're actually multiple boxes. And that's why we could never choose what we wanted to be because we're multiple people. We got so confused over trying to pick a name. We didn't know what our gender was. We didn't know who we were. And that's because people who are alters in our brains, we all have different names, ages, and genders and how we look. And it isn't just imagining someone in your brain. That's not what it is. Because DID is being those people. It's not imagining them, it's being those people. Some of us might think in a weird way because who we are, we might be older or younger than what our body actually is, and that's what we are in our brain. And so we may act weird, or we have different ways of seeing the world. We have different opinions on things than each other. Some of us like different foods than the other people. Some of us have different religions than the other people. It's a lot. But the reason it's not just imagining people and it's actually being those other people is because switching. Switching is when one alter switches to another alter. One person switches to another person. Who is controlling the body switches to a different person who is now controlling the body. And, so how someone switches is disassociation, which is why it's called dissociative identity disorder. Disassociation in switching can look different for way different for different people that have DID. When someone is switching, it can be very fast, and all of a sudden they're a new person in just a few seconds. It can take minutes. It can take hours, but usually it takes around a minute for us, or less. Switching physically looks different than other people with DID. Some people can just look like they're spacing out, or they're staring at one thing that might be a wall, or just looking at the floor, or some people close their eyes or put their head down. Some people can look, it's not actually fainting, but it can look like fainting. I know this is hard. It's hard to know someone for so long, and then all of a sudden, there's a bunch of them. It's different. But most of us have always been here. Well, a good amount of us has always been here. We've just been hiding and pretending to be one thing because we were scared. But we are not one thing, we are not one person. And I know this is hard to understand, but it was even harder for us to understand when we were first learning about it and talking to our therapist about it. And our friends, old friends that we don't talk to anymore. This is hard. There is having DID just means that you have multiple states of identity. You can have as little as 2 alters. Some people have thousands. Most people have around 5 to 20, but we aren't a regular DID system. We are a specific type of DID system, which is called polyfragmented DID. And it basically means that we can have a lot of alters, and it also means that we have fragments, which are alters who only serve one purpose and don't know how to do anything or be there except for one thing that they're supposed to do. Those are called fragments. And structures in our brain, which basically means that some people might be related to a group of people, a group of alters might be connected to each other in some way that the rest of the alters aren't connected to them in that way. And so they are together, their own thing. They're still their own individual alters, they're not one thing, but they are connected in some way. That is called a subsystem, and that is also a part of polyfragmentation. We have subsystems, we have fragments, and we also have a lot of alters. Because we are still discovering ourselves, we are finding new alters all the time because we didn't know that we had DID for a long time because we didn't know what it was called, and we questioned if we were possessed, actually, but we're not. DID is different than that. So because we are still discovering ourselves, we don't know how many alters there are because we keep finding new ones, because we're just now finding out about them because we didn't understand ourselves very well when before we knew what DID was called. And so we don't know exactly how many alters we have, but the ones that we know about so far, there is around 80 something. And I know that seems very overwhelming, and it is for us too, but we are all just regular people. We are very different people from each other, but we are all people. We're not gonna hurt anyone, we're not gonna do anything horrible, we're just all normal people. But we all exist. There isn't one that is the real one. There are ones that come out more often than others. There is not one that is the real one, because we're all real. We may look like crazy characters in our brain, but we experience life as real people. We are real people, and we deserve respect. All of us, we all deserve respect. And because we've been hiding so long and pretending to all be one person, there were times where we pretended that we weren't ourselves, and so we didn't act as ourselves because we were pretending to be someone else. And so some of us you have probably met and not known that you met us because we were pretending to be someone else. But now that we're telling people we have DID, we're not going to hide anymore. We're not going to pretend to only be one person. We are going to all be ourselves and all come out whenever we want to. Also, some people switch more than other people. Like that, I mean, different people with DID switch more often than other people with DID. We switch multiple times a day. Usually, but there have been times where we have gone days without switching. But right now, we usually switch a few times a day. Sometimes we switch a lot of times during the day, and that is hard for us because we have to disassociate in order to switch, and that can give us a headache. Did I even explain what disassociation was? Disassociation is basically spacing out, but that's what it is, but it is also complex because it can look different for different people. And so disassociation can really not be fun because, I mean, we can't control it. We can't control any of this. Sometimes we can switch on purpose, but usually we switch not on purpose. But disassociation, it's spacing out, and it's different for everybody. Sorry if I'm repeating some things. Talking about this is making me disassociate, because talking about DID a lot can trigger out switches. So yeah. But most of us, well, a good bit of us, you might not meet, because like I said, um, there are people who come out more often than others. And so some of us, it might take you a while for you to meet them, because we can't just switch all the time, because that would really give us a headache and be hard for us, because switching on purpose is difficult, and switching on accident gives us a headache. So yeah, but we hope that the people you do meet, you treat with respect, because we will respect you. Some of us are nicer than others, but anyone who is rude to you, maybe, who might be rude a bit, will always take up further actions and apologize if they know they've done something wrong. But most of us don't do anything that we need to apologize for, and we're nice. But again, we are all separate people, so some of us aren't very friendly with new people. Well, you're not new people, because most of the time, I mean, most this video is mostly for family, but they're just nervous around people who don't know them. And so they might accidentally say the wrong things, but we all mean well. We're all just people, and we're all just trying to do what we can. And if you are our siblings that are watching this, we all love you. Again, you don't know most of us, but as a whole, we mostly know you, and we know that we care about you. And we hope that you continue to support us and care about us, even though there are multiple of us. But yes, thank you for hearing us out. The person talking right now is Grell. My name is Grell, Grell. And sometimes there can be multiple people in the driver's seat, as a metaphor, multiple people in control of the body, basically. And sometimes it's like, it's hard to control ourselves as walking around and talking to people, because it's hard for us to think when there's multiple people there at once. And usually it happens while we're switching. But right now we're talking about DID a lot, and so that is triggering out other people. And there is another person here with me. I am the one controlling the voice right now, mostly, but they can also be there and like tell me what to say and things, and say things for themselves. The other person right now is Bernard. Bernard, I think, is how they spell their name. So yeah. And I know I'm saying a lot and pausing a lot, which is what happens when you're dissociating, and we are dissociating because we are Kokon. Kokon it's basically the word for when there's multiple people in the driver's seat. So yeah, it's hard for us to form words right now because of that. But thank you for listening. Hope you continue to be there for us. And of course, you can ask us questions, because we know this is very confusing. DID is a very complex disorder. But you can ask us questions, even if you think that they might make us upset. most of them probably won't, and we will let you know if you accidentally say something incorrect, but we won't be mad about it. Um, but yes, you can ask us questions, and thank you. Um, bye. We hope you have a good day.